Oh my God. I can't wait till we get like further into it. Like I'm like, it's all just so good. It's so freaking good. Okay. I plan my escape.
Amanda leaves us all.
Not yet. I just,
She's thinking about it.
I plan it. I'm gonna
Do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Get out. But I got to figure out how first. I just know I don't want to do this. Amanda doesn't want to play anymore.
Well, here's the deal. Do you remember way, way back in an earlier chapter where we talked about the doctors who he was a pastor?
Yeah.
And they had disagreements with Tom and they left the church.
Yeah.
And do you remember when I said, as much as I did not like them as people, I admired them because I felt like they left. And if I were to ever leave, I would want to leave how they left.
Yes. Yeah.
I decide at this point, I'm going to do that. The problem is I do a lot. So I don't want to be an asshole and just drop everything and say, peace out, bitches. Like, I want to set people up for success.
Yeah.
Because honestly, at this point, my plan is not to leave the church.
Right.
My plan is to leave being on staff and serving in ministry.
Yeah.
Which felt almost more heartbreaking than leaving the church altogether.
Yeah.
Like, I had more of a pit in my stomach worrying about how I was going to step away from ministry than I did when I made the decision to actually leave the church.
Faith can feel like hearts and butterflies until someone lights a match and burns it all to the ground. Welcome to the Burning Butterflies podcast.
The sad thing is that there's abuse of every kind within the church. But the spiritual abuse is the stuff that just
Well, it's a place there shouldn't be abuse. Like, there just shouldn't be abuse in a place that claims to.
Well, it ruins your soul. If you're new here, we suggest listening to our prologue episode first. This is the story of two women's journey through toxic church culture and spiritual abuse, all while finding healing in the end.
Sometimes it's just the facts, and if you get offended by it, that's a you issue. And if we can't be mature enough to have these conversations, even if some of the topics are difficult, then shame on us.
Well, and I feel like because that's what it was about, right? Because once you leave all that stuff, leaving the church is easy.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was never really the church that kept you there, right? It was the things that you were involved in, the things that you were. So I mean, it makes sense, right? Like in a rudimentary level, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But so this episode tonight is my story of how I decide I am going to start planning my escape from serving in ministry.
Yeah.
So like I said in last week's episode, you guys are like fighting the front of Miss America, I'm fighting the front of Barry.
Yes.
And I, for the life of me, am just desperate for this man to show me any sort of redeeming quality in himself that I can excuse away his behavior. I am desperate for it. I am grasping at straws. And homeboy has not given me anything. Like, I am just any little thing that he could do that would be like, oh, yes, I could see why Tom would want you to be a preacher here. Any little thing I was looking for, and he was caught lacking every single time. Like I was trying so hard because I still was living under this, like, Tom is the ultimate authority in this church. This is his church. He is the head of this church. We will honor the authority that God has placed over us. And if God told Tom, then God must have a plan, and I must just not understand it. So I spent so much time begging God to just, I don't have to understand all of it. You don't have to reveal the big picture to me. You don't have to tell me what you told Tom, but please, God, just like, I need something. I need to see something.
Yeah, I think it's really funny to think about the fact that you and I did not leave a cult, right? When we left, we left a church because we didn't even realize until a couple years after leaving the church, like, the reality of the situation that we've been talking about this whole time, this hindsight 2020, like, really, like, wasn't existent at this time. Like, we are members of a church. We are participating in church. Our eyes are like, we're starting to see, and we're starting to be so fed up with it that we're like, we're at the point of where we are about to walk away. You know, you're ready to quit all your ministries and quit serving, but you still have no idea that you are in a cult at this moment. And I feel like that is important to keep in mind as you tell this story.
Yes. So I have met with Barry, and I have these questions for him, right? I lay out these questions, and he can't answer them. He writes them down, and he's like, I'll get back to you. We'll schedule another meeting. I'm annoyed by that, but we move on, right? We do hashtag best Christmas ever, because we're trendy. In friggin' December of 2020, Tom feels like we invent hashtags.
Okay, wait. Hold on.
I had to explain to Charlotte what a hashtag was.
Wait, but no, listen. It all correlates with you, me, and Brandy. Like, do you remember how I didn't know what a hashtag was, but I thought they were really cool? And you and Brandy had to show me how they worked on social media, like what the purpose of them was. And then I wanted to, like, hashtag everything. And so that's going on at this time. And then, of course, because I'm all about, like, I just learned what a hashtag was, and Brandy's been using them with women's ministry, right? And I was oblivious to it. And, you know, she was on a mission to tell Charlotte, like, we need to hashtag this stuff that we do, right? We started putting it on all the events. And I realized that probably came from you, but, you know, Brandy's the front man. So she's been hashtagging stuff in women's ministry now for a while. And then, of course, finally, this is the same thing where it's like, all of a sudden, it was like, Charlotte's like, oh, yes, we have to do this. So now, of course, if Charlotte is okay with it, now Tom's okay with it. And I think it's funny because you're like, people, hello. But I will say I was one of those people too, because I didn't know what a hashtag. It's the pound sign on the telephone.
But it's also like, it goes back to, like, what got me so worked up at the end of the last episode was, we're not inventing this.
I know. But
Tom is standing on stage, and in his sermons, he's promoting Christmas, and he's like, we're going to have hashtag best Christmas. Do you know what a hashtag is? And this 70-year-old man is explaining to freaking millennials what hashtags are. And I'm like sitting there just like, you've got to be kidding me right now.
And with the
grandpa, everyone knows what hashtags are.
Like, and with the passion of like, this is cutting edge. Like,
yes,
I'm the first one to have found out about this. We're going to be the first church to do this. And you're like, we're like the 12th millionth church to do it. Like,
so
sorry, I just thought that was funny.
I have been fighting Tom for the longest time of how to say things. And he's like, just write this down and put it out there. And I'm like, well, you have to like say it in a way, like you have to catch people's attention online. You have to like, when it comes to social media promotions and marketing and things like that, like you have to say what you want to say in a specific way in order to gain people's attention. So I've been fighting Tom on this, right? I finally decide I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I'm done fighting. So you want me to write this? I will write it in exactly the way that I know you want me to write it, because I'm tired of fighting you.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Like the last big fight I had with Tom was, let's make Come As You Are great again. And I felt like we took like 2 steps forward, but then we also have like Barry and Miss America and Brock and all of these people. And I'm like, I feel like we took 2 steps forward and like 15 steps backwards. So like nothing's ever going to change. Nothing is going to change. And so why fight it? Because this was my mindset. Tom is the leader. Tom is the authority. I need to honor the authority that God placed over it. God must have a plan and a purpose. If he put Tom in charge of this church, Tom started this church, there's a plan and a purpose for it. I don't see it. So if I don't see it, I need to remove myself from being involved in this stuff until I see it. That is my mindset. There's something wrong with me that I can't see it. And so I'm like, I'm done fighting Tom on this. I don't understand, but okay, he must have a plan. God must have showed him something. So I'm done fighting. So I write the promotion for hashtag best Christmas ever, the exact way that I knew Tom wanted me to write it. And he comes to me, and do you know what this man told me? I don't know why you wrote it like that. Because are you not aware that it's COVID and people have died?
This is what you told me to write, sir.
And in my mind, I'm like, are you effing kidding me right now? Like, are you kidding me right now? I am the person who, you know, really was like, people are stuck in their houses and they're calling and they're lonely and they just need to know that someone cares about them. And I wanted to put signs in their yards, and you told me these people weren't important enough to do that. Like, I said we should wear masks because that is what makes people feel safe, and we need to honor the authority that's placed over us. And if someone wants to come to church and that's how they feel loved, is that I can set myself aside enough to put a mask on my face for them to walk into the building, I'm going to love selflessly the way Jesus told me to, and I'm going to put a mask on my face, and you told me it was stupid. And then you're going to stand here and you're going to remind me that people have died? Like, excuse me, sir? So I said, what do you want me to say? And he's like, well, you just make it seem like so positive. And I said, we're calling it the best Christmas ever. The best Christmas ever. After COVID. Christmas 2020, we are calling the best Christmas ever. What do you want me to say? Like, I wrote it positive because we named it the best Christmas ever. And so we had to rewrite all of that. So at that point, I'm like, yep, I'm definitely done. That was my like affirmation. I can't work here anymore. I cannot work in this office anymore. My relationship with Tom, this was my rationalization in my head. My relationship with Tom has gotten too close to where we are now fighting like father and daughter. And this is not beneficial to my walk with Christ. This is not beneficial to the church body. And someone else needs to do this job. And hey, Miss America has been wanting to get more involved, so more power to her. But I'm also just not gonna, because I love this church so damn much, I'm not just going to hand over everything and be like, well, here you go, figure it out. I am going to slowly over time put things in place. I'm going to train up other people so it's not just on Miss America. Other people will be able to come alongside of her. And I don't tell anyone that this is my plan. I tell you and Brandy, but like I don't tell anyone else. I don't tell Lori in the office. I don't tell Twyla. I sure as hell don't tell Barbara Jean or Charlotte or Tom. But I just slowly over time, I'm like, hey, Lori, do you want to learn how to do this? Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, here, let me show you. Why don't you try to do it this week? And I slowly try to do things like that. And my plan is that after the banquet in January, that is when I'm going to quit. But I can't quit and leave Lori with all of the banquet paperwork all by herself. So my plan is I'm just going to bite my tongue and keep my head down, and I'm going to wait until after the banquet paperwork is all done, and then I will quit my job. And that is my plan. In the meantime, we decide we have elders. So we've put these 3 men. We've put the serving elder, we've put the older elder, and we've put Bill Nye the Color Guy out there as these are the men that are being considered for eldership, right? It comes down to the commitment ceremony for these men. And we are told that Bill Nye the Color Guy has removed himself from consideration. Due to personal reasons, Bill Nye the Color Guy feels like this is not the right time for him to seek eldership. I thought this was very interesting because we have talked to people who were part of the eldership training, and in those eldership because they all these men went through this eldership training. Well, they continued to meet regularly, and even though not all of them were being considered for eldership, they all still continued to meet. And if you remember a couple episodes ago, I talked about how Tom told us in the office that there were 5 men. The serving elder, the older elder, Bill Nye the Color Guy, Brock, and Barry were the 5 men up for consideration. We've been informed that only the older elder and the serving elder, in those meetings between those men, it was just those 2 guys that were like that group agreed should be presented. I think when Tom told us in the office that day, I think Tom was testing the waters.
Yeah.
Because he wanted Barry. And so if I throw all this out there,
I'm going to say.
And so why Bill Nye the Color Guy was allowed to be put forward, because Tom said in front of Bill Nye the Color Guy, in front of all the other men in this group, that Bill Nye the Color Guy was ineligible because his wife was not an obedient wife, his wife was difficult, and his children were disrespectful to him. And that disqualified him.
Which is so weird. I've never seen his kids be disrespectful to him.
My husband
weird.
was asked to join eldership And he said, I feel because of my past transgressions, I have disqualified myself. And that was not even a consideration to Tom. Doesn't matter. God forgives you. You need to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
But Bill Nye the Color Guy was never truly considered.
Yeah, which is so weird because, like, we've talked about it before. Like, that poor woman was like, I mean, I feel like she was like, I don't know about that crazy church you're going to, but good luck to you. And just didn't want anything to do because she could see the writing on the wall. And then she was painted out to be some Jezebel, you know?
Yeah.
Not like some horrendous wife, like, because she probably was just like, I don't want to participate.
Well, and she knew.
I don't blame her. Yeah.
She knew Tom went around telling people she was awful.
That's whole, oh my gosh.
So
it's so crazy.
It's so crazy. So I don't understand why we put Bill Nye the Color Guy out there. The only thing I could think of is Tom was playing the long game. Because so many people, even back when we made Old Reliable a pastor, Bill Nye the Color Guy's name was brought up even all those years ago.
Yeah, I feel like he was kind of like the honey to make it all palatable, right? Like, Tom knows it's never going to happen, but everybody loves this guy. Like, he's Mr. Personality, so he's like the one you throw out. Yeah. You know, like, he's like the bait. Like,
and I think if we...
And then we're also sad and disappointed when he can't be, that we're just we don't even pay attention to what's really going on behind the curtain. You know?
Yeah, exactly. We can't present Barry in the future if we've never presented Bill Nye the Color Guy.
Yeah.
So we make the older elder and the serving elder elders, but they're pastor elders. And we explain, Tom explains that, well, here at Come As You Are, elders are pastors and pastors are elders. And we don't have a differentiation between them. So they are pastors. We will ordain them and they will be pastors and they will function as pastors. You know why we did that? Yeah, because if you look at the legal definition, according to nonprofits, elders technically serve as type of a board on a church in order to get your 501c3, which we know that Come As You Are has like a state level version of that, but not a federal level version of that. We've gone over that in past episodes. We've done whole Patreons on that. Go back and look at that. But if we were to make these men elders, we would have to rewrite the bylaws. And if we have to rewrite the bylaws, people are going to find out that Tom holds all ultimate power. Financially, decision-wise, all of it. Tom holds all of it. And there is nothing legally stopping him from using the church as a personal financial asset.
Right. And I feel like he was definitely like wanted those words to be interchangeable for like, because he still was trying to get, ultimately he was trying to get Barry to be a pastor.
Yes.
All right. And he was trying the eldership way and that didn't work at first. So I don't know. It's just so bizarre. So bizarre.
Yes. So we make these men pastor elders. So we license them. In the future, they can seek ordination just like, we did with Old Reliable, just like we did with Young Gun. We licensed them first, and then later on they became ordained. And so we add to the pastorship team, right? So now we have 4 pastors. Tom being the senior pastor, Old Reliable being the associate pastor, and then we went back and forth for a while on what we were going to call the other 2 men. And at first they were elder pastors. And then eventually, slowly over time, they also became associate pastors. So, if you go and you look at Come As You Are's website right now,
elders.
They still don't have elders. All of those men are listed as associate pastors. And so, like, even other churches, I mean, there's churches who have 14,000 pastors, right? Like, I mean, they have a ton of pastors, but everyone is a pastor of something. Like the worship pastor, the youth pastor, the family pastor.
You can be a pastor, and you can be a pastor, and you can be a pastor.
Yeah. And so, but at Come As You Are, you don't have just one thing that you're focusing over. You're just a pastor, associate pastor. So everyone's associate except for Tom. Tom is senior pastor. And that's very important legally for him to have, you know, that title. So I'm frustrated by this process. I'm frustrated that Tom just seems to be like, I am very much like, I've always been aware that Tom just kind of like throws out ideas. I think of it like spaghetti is perfectly cooked if you can throw it at the wall and it sticks, right? But it's not just going to stay there forever, right? It's going to fall off after a little bit. And so I feel like that's how Tom dealt with ideas. He would throw a handful of ideas at the wall. Whichever noodle stuck, that's what we were going to hang with. And we hung with it only as long as it stuck to the wall. And then once it started to fall, he'd abandon it completely. And so I've always been kind of aware of that, but I've just kind of chalked it up to like, well, God is always moving and God is changing, and we must have needed that for a season, and it wasn't meant to be long-term. It was meant to be for a season. And, you know, so now I am very much more aware of the fact that, like, I don't know if Tom really has a plan.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're just treading water, trying to like survive. And whatever we could do to just kick the can down the road a little bit, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And so
we talked about that before, like, he's not playing chess. It's all reactive.
Yes.
Right. He has a playbook, but he has to swish and move in accordance with whatever's coming at him. And so it's like, he might be one or two steps, you know, like, but it's all reactionary and it's all defense. Like,
yeah. So we make the elders, right? Barry and his wife show up to this like commitment ceremony, and Barry is like oddly involved.
Yeah.
It's like Tom and Old Reliable and Barry are licensing these men and making them elders.
Uh-huh.
It is very, very weird, and it's very, very off-putting to me. I'm like, very,
very obvious.
Yes.
Even though Tom swears up and down that Barry's not going to be a pastor.
Yeah, Barry's not going to be a pastor. He still needs training.
But then he gets called. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, he just continually, he's not going to be a pastor. I don't even think he should be a pastor. Like, no. That's not it. Well, then how come he was doing this with you? And like, he was acting like a pastor. You had him up there on stage with you, and
yeah,
and reliable. No, that's not. He just put out
all the other men who were up for consideration weren't up there.
Yeah,
Chimney wasn't up there. You know, Brock wasn't up there. These, you know, Bill Nye the Color Guy wasn't up there.
He wants to learn stuff or whatever. I don't know what he would say.
Yeah. So I start pushing Barry more for, I need to sit down with you and we need to revisit our conversation. We need to have a meeting again. So we have it scheduled for like a couple weeks out. Right? In the meantime, on a Thursday night, they do I think it was a salt training. They did something. They moved all the chairs in the sanctuary and they had tables and everything. And I all I know is I know for a fact it was on a Thursday night because we didn't do bulletins because we were doing this special training. And so I want to say it was assault training. And so I took the Sunday bulletins over. We had printed them and stuffed them and everything. And I took them over to put them behind the information desk in the lobby so they would be ready to go for Sunday morning. And as I walk over there, everyone is kind of like getting ready for this training. And Brandy comes out and is livid. And I'm like, what is wrong? And she is mad. She got put at a table with Brock and Barry. And Barry shows up a little bit late to this training. And he's mad because his wife is on her period. So he comes. This is a man who wants to be a pastor, who is, in all intensive purposes, if you were just some Joe Schmo off the street, didn't know anything about Come As You Are, and you walked in, you would think he was a pastor there. Functioning like that, saying he's leading these groups, saying he's a leader in the church, all of this shit, and he is sitting at a table of mixed company. It is not just a bunch of men bitching about their wives on a Tuesday morning drinking coffee. It is mixed company in the sanctuary at a training, pissed off, talking about how bitchy women are when they're on their periods. And him and Brock start, yep, women on their periods are the worst. What is wrong with them? It's like they go crazy. And Brandy is like, I can't sit here. And I was like, girl, I'm not even walking in there. Like, just leave. She's like, I can't leave because Charlotte, you guys were getting ready to do your 5Ts meeting. And Charlotte's all over Brandy's ass over stuff. So she's like, I can't. Charlotte made me be here.
Yeah. I know, poor Brandy. But like, I think you made a very valid point, though, like something that really we need to address. If you walked in to Come As You Are during this time and you'd never been there before, you would have been led to believe that Barry was a pastor.
Yeah, 100%.
And he would have let you believe it. He was carrying himself that way. He was acting that way. And this
he
person,
he was very, very careful not to say, I'm a pastor. But he said, hi, I'm Barry. I preach on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
So what were you going to think?
Yeah. And then he would tell you, like, I mean, to other people, he'd be like, well, I'm going to be, I mean, like he was very.
Yeah, I'm training. I'm in training.
Training to be a pastor. Like not like the decision's been made. Not just like, I want to be. Now we've gotten to like, I'm on pastor path. And so, very deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
Very deceptive. And people were calling him out, not just us. Like these were some weird times.
Yeah.
Weird times.
So Brandy's upset about that, right? And there's a bunch of people who are just upset with just how condescending he is, right? So our meeting rolls around. We get to the point where we're having a meeting. I think it's on a Thursday night, and he is going to so we're kind of slowly moving away from these groups and back to letting Barry stand on the stage, right? And it's because magically Barry's gone through 101, 201, 301, and 401, and he's currently in Master Life. And ta-da! We've also read the Old Testament now. So
now you can have a meeting.
Yes, so we can let Barry stand on the stage and preach again on Thursday nights.
And he can now answer your questions.
And he can answer my questions. And so it's on a Thursday night before service. And I think we're going to meet over in the lobby like we did last time. We met in the lobby, we talked, you guys did your warm-up for worship, and then once people started arriving, our meeting was done. I thought that's what we were going to do this time. He says, can we meet in the office? I'm like, sure, yeah, that's fine. So I'm at my desk in the back room of the office. I'm doing work, and he comes in and he's like, "Are you ready for our meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I go to follow him out thinking we're going out to the living room or even to go sit out in the pantry to have a little bit more privacy. We walk into Old Reliable's office, and he sits in Old Reliable's chair behind the desk, and I sit on the other side. And I'm like, what the actual F? And I'm like, what? Like, why are we in here? And he's like, oh, well, I just thought this would be more private. And he sits in, and I know it shouldn't bother me, like, because in all reality, it's just a chair, and we're taught in this church that no one owns anything. It all belongs to God. And, you know, we've gone through in older episodes about, like, you know, the woman who was mad in the nursery because she didn't want people in her room and refused to be in certain rooms. And, you know, you can't hold on to anything. It all belongs to God. So I'm like going through this internal struggle, like, okay, well, this is God's office. It's not Pastor O'Reliable's, but I'm also like, I respect this man, and you're sitting in his chair. I would never go and sit in Tom's chair.
Like, you could have just sat in my office. Like,
yeah, like if we're going to do that, you might as well just come and sit back there. I mean, yeah, Lori's in there.
Privacy, you know?
Yeah, Lori's in there, but I mean, honestly, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm instantly like, why are we in here? Why did you pick this room? Is kind of like how I'm feeling, right? So he starts off and he's like, well, I feel, and then starts telling me how I am prideful and I am bossy and how I have made his wife feel. And I'm like, hold on. I thought you were going to answer my questions. Okay, like before we get to any new topics, like, I mean, there's parliamentary procedure. Like, what can we review the previous meeting? Let's talk about old business before we bring up new business, right? Like, I was in 4-H, I did FFA, I know the things, right? Like, so he's like, okay, so like, what questions? And I'm like, well, you wrote them down in your little handy dandy notebook that you're carrying with you today. But yeah, so like about reading the whole Bible. I know you must have misunderstood me. How could I have misunderstood you when you said it was okay that you had not read the Old Testament because we are under the new covenant with the Lord and the New Testament covers the new covenant? How, like, what part of that am I misunderstanding? Like, I don't understand how you think I don't understand. And he's like, I feel like you have a problem with me. And I said, well, I can tell you, you come off as very condescending. And he's like, well, that's your opinion. And he said it in such like dickhead way. It pissed me off. And I was like, it's not just my opinion. There's several people who feel this way about it. Well, name one. So, of course, the first name that pops into my head is my friend. And so I'm like, you treat Brandy terribly. I've watched how you talk to her. You put her down. You belittle her. You talk to her like she's stupid. You act like she is unimportant to you and she's just the help there to take care of the children. Like, you treat her like crap. Well, has she told you this? And I said, she doesn't have to tell me this. I've seen it with my own eyes. So then he starts in on me and these flaws that he sees in me. And I don't submit to my husband. And I'm like, how, like, what do you mean? Like, what have you ever seen me not submit to my husband? Like, what, are you in my home? Like, what have I ever done that, well, I can tell by your behavior and by your attitude that you are not a woman who submits to her husband. And like starts in on, I talk out of turn and I don't let men lead. And, I'm very difficult to work with for Tom. And I said, me and Tom have known each other for 20 years. Yes, him and I talk to each other in a very different way than any other pastor parishioner relationship probably would. Because the man literally tells me I remind him of his daughter, and he constantly tells me that I am like his daughter. And so, yes, him and I am more likely to push back against him on some things because we have that relationship.
Yeah.
And so,
can I ask a question really quick? Is this the meeting where you called out your parenting?
Yes. Yeah. So we keep getting down the line. And so everything. Oh,
you were getting there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Everything he's saying to me, I'm like kind of turning back on him and being like, okay, well, you've seen this about me. Like, can you now answer another question about yourself?
Yeah.
Like, we're clearly not doing the, like, let's go over old business before we do new, but like, okay, let's back and forth. Your turn to share, my turn to share. Like, so like, can you answer a question now? And so he would say something, he would answer his question, but it was in one of those like, well, you must have misunderstood, or, well, actually, and then try to say something biblical to me. And I am like, girl, I am not the one for you to test this against. And so he would be like, well, actually, when Jesus, he said something about the Sermon on the Mount. And he's like, when Jesus was preaching the Sermon on the Mount, and he was trying to say that, like, Jesus spoke to the masses all the time, and he never played favorites, and he never had like private meetings. And so because he was trying to say that like me and you and Brandy were like, we had these private meetings and we weren't including his wife. And so he was trying to use Jesus as an example. And I was like, well, actually, Jesus quite frequently would take his disciples aside. Like, he crossed bodies of water to get away from the crowds in order to talk to just his disciples. And on several occasions, scripture tells us he took just a few of the disciples, not all of them, just the beloved. Like, he had a bestie. He had a couple that he was very, very close with. He had one that he was like, hey, I'm going to die. I want you to take care of my mom. Like, he had his core bros, right?
You know that painting where Jesus is having dinner with the masses?
Yeah.
At a really long table? Yeah.
Yeah. The famous painting isn't of the loaves and fishes. It's of, like, just him and his disciples. So I'm like, no. And so it was stuff like that, right? Like, so he's like saying things, and I was like, that, like,
what are you talking about?
I understand a lot of the Bible you just sped read in order to get through it, but like
3 months.
I don't think that means what you think that means.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting more and more frustrated. And the more frustrated I get, the less likely I am to think things through and say things in the come as you are church way. And the more likely you are to get raw Amanda. And so he keeps pushing me and saying things. And I say something back to him, and then he gets mad. And so then it's slowly becoming more like he tries to be biblical. I prove to him that his understanding of the Bible is incorrect. So now he's mad. So then the next thing he says to me, he's just gradually getting more and more personal in his attacks.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think he thought the whole, like, you don't submit to your husband thing was going to do it to me. And I was like, you don't know the first thing about my marriage, sir. So don't even come at me. Yeah. Like, no. Like, just no. And so then he starts telling me that I am an ungodly mom and I am failing my children. And he starts down this, like, accusation that I could tell he was leading up to. And I was like, I just kept shaking my head because, like, in my head, I'm like, say it, you son of a bitch. Because I was waiting for him to tell me I was a bad mom because my kids were in public school. I was waiting for it because that's where he was leading. And then I think he realized just how pissed off I was, and that if he was going to say it, I was just going to lay into him. And so I am, like, so mad. And he kind of backs off of the, like, schooling wise, because it was all like, you know, training your children up and all of this stuff. And, you know, and you need to make sure that they are living for the Lord and not the world. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, do you even know my kids?
Right.
Like, my kids were baptized in this church before you even knew this church existed. So don't come at me for my kids' faith. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? And so then he says, well, the other day you told your boys, because my boys were arguing in the church lobby. So he said, you told your boys to go out to the car. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, you didn't take that opportunity to teach them. And I said, teach them what? And he's like, well, you should have sat them down and you should have had a conversation and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was a Sunday morning. They are teenage boys and they were arguing with each other and it was getting heated. And they didn't need to yell at each other in front of the old ladies who were just trying to set cookies on the table for the refreshment team. So yeah, I told them, if you're going to argue with each other, go out to the car. No one in this church wants to see you fight with each other. Go to the car. And he's like, well, that's not what a godly parent should have done. And I said, what did you want me to do? Lecture them? They're teenagers, sir. And he's like, well, if you didn't know how to handle it, you should have deferred to your husband. And I said, my husband would have said the same damn thing. And he's like, but you didn't ask. And so, see, you don't submit to your husband. You don't even consider his opinion. And I bet he has no say in how you raise your children and all of this stuff. And I just was done because I was like, no, you know what? Your kids are assholes and they run through this church. They run into old ladies. They treat this whole church like their own personal playground. And you're going to come at, like, my kids aren't perfect. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't have precious angel syndrome. I know my kids can be assholes, but don't come at me that you think my kids are terrible and your kids are angels. No, screw you. And so I was pissed. And so I stood up and I slammed my hands down on the table as I stood up. And I said, you know what? You can suck my dick. And I got up and I walked out of the room and I was like, I'm done. Like, I looked at Lori and I gave her a look like I'm going to freaking punch someone right now. And I left. And Brandy called me and she's like, what the hell? And I was like, I have never been so close to punching someone as I was in that moment. Like, I wanted to deck the man.
Yeah.
I was so mad. So mad. And that was my, like, I am done. I am done. I am done. I am going to, at this point, we had already had the membership banquet. And I am like, I'm just going to finish this membership paperwork because, like we've talked about in previous episodes, you know, everyone has to fill out all these things. These are the ministries I'm interested in. This is, you know, I've taken 101, 201, 301, 401, Master Life, you know, all the things. And we have to go through all of that. And then like anyone who signed up to be like on the worship team, we have to give their name and their phone number to the worship team leader. And then we have to follow up and make sure the worship team leader actually called them and all of this stuff. And so I wasn't going to put it all on Lori. So I was like, I'm going to just power through, get this done. And then I need to be done, because that meeting above anything else made it so clear to me, because Tom was in the office. Tom was in his office right across the hall. And like I've said before, those walls are thin. And you can't tell me. I know for a fact Brandy and Lori were listening through the door. You can't tell me Tom wasn't either.
Yeah.
And so that meeting for me was, he has Tom's ear.
Yeah.
Tom has picked him. And there's nothing I can say or do to stop this.
Yeah.
The ball is rolling. And him sitting in Old Reliable's chair was a passive-aggressive way of saying, it's already done. So whatever you're upset about doesn't matter, because it's already done.
Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.